Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. What a way to start off the 25-26 season. The Canadians get a 2-1 shootout win over the Pittsburgh Penguins, and I think it was definitely a back and forth game. I think we saw a lot of good play and a lot of the players that we wanted to see play well today. So I think this is definitely going to come up as a win, both in the books and I think for our projections for the rest of the season. So starting in the first period, the first thing I kind of noticed when the game started is that Demidov was getting targeted a lot, which kind of makes sense. Like he's our kind of our star player, at least on that ice. In this game with our lineup, that's kind of how it was and all the hype around him. So it definitely makes sense, but it's definitely a little bit scary considering how last year's preseason went. We don't want guys getting hurt and missing time in the regular season. So, but it was good to see. Early in the game, Dobson was able to step up for him, which was pretty cool to see. Because people are stepping up for Demidov, who's a brand new player, and also the fact that Dobson is a new player to the team as well. This is his first game technically as a Canadian, and he's already stepping up for his teammates. That was really cool to see, and it makes me feel pretty good that he's going to be able to mesh really well with like the team vibe and that kind of stuff. So that was pretty cool to see. And then later in the game, Fabry like left his feet to like go up high and hit Demidov while he was like his back was turned. And it's just like I hate seeing that stuff, and it's just so dumb when things like that happen. But Anderson, he took a penalty, but he was able to step up and make sure that Pittsburgh knew that they weren't getting away with taking hits like that on Demidov. But yeah, I'm just glad that he didn't get hurt in that situation. Frankly, that it's just bullshit to see stuff like that happening in a preseason game. But on the positive, it was really cool to see our guys step up for Demidov when it was needed. Other than that, we had a good look at the power play and the penalty kill. There were 6 penalties in that first period. So we got to see the penalty kill, first of all, was something that I had mentioned previously would be a big question mark for this team as to whether or not we'd be able to, maintain kind of the stats or, how good we were on the penalty kill last year. Obviously, we lost Dvorak, Armia, and David Savard last year, so it was interesting to see how we were going to perform. And obviously we don't have our full lineup, but I thought Dobson specifically, he was super solid. He was just playing really commanded with the puck. Like he was just, when he had the puck, like it felt pretty calm that he was going to be able to clear the zone, that kind of stuff. He played well the whole game, but specifically on the kill, he was looking really good. Matheson looked good as well, and I mean, like everybody's got their own take on Mike Matheson, but I thought the two of them played pretty well together. I don't know if they're going to keep that lineup or if I like that lineup. As my projection said that I think that Dobson should play alongside Caden Gooley, because I think that pairing makes a little bit more sense to me. But either way, I thought that line played pretty well, and the kill in general played pretty well too. The other thing I thought was kind of interesting is that they put Josh Anderson on there with Jake Evans. Jake Evans obviously is our one kind of like returning PK guy, and he played pretty well. But I think adding Josh Anderson, not something I would have thought, but it definitely worked because he's a bigger guy and he can move, and I think he can also bring some offense that we had. Jake Evans obviously had a bunch of shorthanded goals last year, and I think having Anderson paired up with him could potentially give that that offensive spark and make the opposing power plays feel a little bit nervous having those guys out there. And then you add Suzuki onto the penalty kill as well, and then maybe you've got something. So I thought they played pretty well in this game, and it's kind of an interesting prospect looking forward. The penalty kill did let in one goal from Pittsburgh, but I thought that Pittsburgh's movement on that one was super well done. I didn't really see that from them anywhere else in the game, but in that one position. But when they did do that in that one time, I don't know if any penalty kill is going to be able to stop that. There was a bunch of kind of give and go passes there into that bumper position. So I thought that overall that goal was really nice from Pittsburgh, and I don't really blame anybody on the Montreal kill, including Montembeault on that one. And then moving on to the power play, I thought throughout the entire game the power play was a little bit like you could definitely see that there was a lack of chemistry between the guys on the power play unit. Line A, as I mentioned, I think he had a really nice game today. Like overall, he drew 2 penalties. I thought, on the power play, he had some nice looks. Demidov on the power play was definitely like commanding the ice. He was playing really well. Dobson had some nice moves, but I think just overall, I think all of those guys just have to kind of work a little bit on that chemistry. But it's understandable considering it's the preseason. We don't have everybody on the ice. We don't have everybody practice together, and everybody's kind of new to that line, so it definitely makes sense. But yeah, as of this game, we had 2 5-on-3 opportunities that didn't really go the way we wanted it to. We had some chances. I thought Dobson was able to get a nice shot off from a Demidov feed from behind the net on a 5-on-3 later in the game, and we had some opportunities. But yeah, generally speaking, the power play was a little bit lackluster. But yeah, wrapping up the first period, I thought Montembeau made a great save. Pittsburgh was able to get a pass kind of across the crease, and Montembeau was able to make that sprawling save, which, funny enough, is kind of something we've come to expect from Montembeau. Like, he's made a lot of those kind of like big time saves in moments where we needed a save. So it was good to see that, and also a save like that. It's cool to see that he's able to make that save and feeling comfortable after having his groin injury in the playoffs a few months ago. So it was good to see him in his first game back since then, and being able to make a big save like that is hopefully a confidence boosting moment. But yeah, that was kind of the end of the highlights for the first period. Going on to the second period, I thought we continued to play pretty well. We had the kill to start the second period. Kandata had a nice block shot at the end of that penalty kill to start the period, and then almost scored off of like a rush with Anderson. So that was a cool little moment. Him being able to block a shot and then almost getting rewarded for his efforts there. That was pretty good. But in general, the second period was pretty lackluster. We didn't really get too much going. Neither team was getting anything going, really. And then, Jared Davidson had something to say about it. He got into a fight after a Pittsburgh player hit somebody in the back. Davidson went and, dropped the gloves for it. That fight, I thought, was super spirited. Both guys got some good punches in either way. And Davidson, after the fight, was kind of hyping up the crowd, getting everybody into it. So that was a cool moment, and I think it did work. I think it brought the crowd kind of back into the game a little bit. Brought the the Habs players back into the game a little bit. So that was definitely a cool moment. Line throughout the second period, he continued to be impressive, despite the fact that I think that Martin St. Louis was kind of limiting his ice time a bit, just kind of being conservative, not trying to get him injured, which, definitely do that considering, what happened last year. I'll say it a million times until we get out of this preseason, but we got to stay away from the injuries, knock on wood, right? But yeah, I thought every time Line got on the ice, he looked really impressive. Speaking of impressive, Jacob Fowler came in halfway through, just past the 10-minute mark of the second period, and he looked like he'd been in the game the entire time. He was able to make a great save on like a partial breakaway that Pittsburgh had kind of like right after he got in. He was able to make that save. He looked super comfortable throughout the entire game, but like definitely like as soon as he came in, he was tested early and he made some great saves. Later on, the Anderson, Gallagher, Evans line, those guys, they all got a pretty good scoring chance late into the second period, but just their luck, right? All three of them pretty much either got their shots blocked or missed the net or something like that. I'm pretty sure like 4 shots got taken there, and like only one of them actually like made it to the net and it got saved. So good offense from them. It's good to get some offensive time, but couldn't quite capitalize on that opportunity. Later in the game, kind of the same thing. Meshar and Dobson both had a good opportunity late into the second period. Meshar missed the net, and then Dobson had a nice slap shot opportunity, which his stick failed him on. It broke on that slap shot, so we weren't able to get any offense generated there, and that was kind of just the story of the entire second period. Like, we weren't really getting any offense generated. Like, everything that we had kind of was going wide, getting blocked, sticks breaking, all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of the way it was. Line came back in pretty much after that and drew another penalty. That was his second penalty drawn in the game. So again, really impressive game from him. And then on the ensuing power play, Demidov had some nice moves to kind of set guys up, but couldn't quite get anything generated there. And that was the end of the second period. And then into the third period, Demidov started that third period doing his best Steven Stamkos impression on the power play. He took a one-timer from Dobson, kind of like right on the goal line. Didn't quite get that to work, but maybe with some practice we'll get one of those to go in. Maybe he can talk to Lane Hudson, see if he can learn how to kind of snipe from the goal line there like he did it. So, but that was kind of our start to the power play. We got another 5-on-3. Demidov was able to feed Dobson. He got a nice shot off there, but didn't quite get anything to go. Again, I thought, kind of that whole power play is just kind of, they're trying to get stuff going, but just they just need to work on the chemistry and moving a little bit, kind of see where they want people to go. And, I think it'll all come with time, and that's kind of part of the preseason, right, is learning, how people play, and, all the lines are going to get mixed up and stuff anyway. So I thought it was good that they were able to get a few chances off there. And then the second power play unit got out there, and finally the Habs are able to break through. They get like 4 rebound opportunities, like Machar, Beck, Farrell. Everybody's putting the puck on net, and finally, after literally 4 rebounds, Beck is able to put one past the goalie and tie up the game. So that was a much-needed goal and an energy spark for the Canadians. Tie up the game. Beck, I thought he had a pretty solid game overall. I think obviously he got the goal. I think he was the first star of the game at the end. So I thought he had a pretty solid showing. Like driving the net, being aggressive, all that kind of stuff, which is exactly what the Canadians want to see out of Owen Beck, because that's kind of the role that's open on that third or fourth line or whatever, somebody who can kind of generate offense but also be kind of like a checking forward, maybe even a killer. So yeah, I thought that he kind of played really well. I thought other people like Oliver Kapanen also kind of played well in that space. Machar, kind of, I'm rambling through all of these different guys, but there were a ton of guys who played some really solid play today to compete for that spot. But obviously Owen Beck, the one who scores that goal there, so that's good to see from him. And then right after that, they get another power play, and Beck almost gets another one. I think Sean Farrell was able to keep the puck in. He kind of like batted it down, and then Machar was able to get a cross crease pass over to Owen Beck. He almost got another one, but it was saved away. So I thought that line in general, those 3 kind of young Laval guys all played a pretty good game. I thought they had some good. I mean, obviously they have some pretty good chemistry together, having prior time playing together. But yeah, I thought that they were a pretty solid line there. And then in classic Matheson fashion, he went for kind of a pinch on the zone after that, and then he got tripped up. Maybe should have been a call, but I don't know. But it was a 3-on-1, and then Fowler was able to make a big save to kind of save Matheson's ass there. So that was good. But again, Fowler just looking super solid, super confident in there, which I think we should all kind of come to expect, considering the way he's been in college and his little time in Laval at the end of last season. So that was another good thing to see there. Later on, Demidov kind of making some great moves behind the net, kind of picking up where he left off in the prospect showcase. Kind of cutting back and forth. Kind of reminded me, people are gonna flame me for this, but it reminded me of Sidney Crosby kind of moving and protecting the puck behind the net there, making some guys miss. He was able to make some moves, which ended up setting up Kapanen for a nice one-timer opportunity. So that was pretty cool to see. Unfortunately, they weren't able to capitalize as per most opportunities in the game today. But it was really cool to see Demidov just kind of control the game there, just he's got the puck and he's making things happen. So that was cool to see. And then at the end of the game, Matheson was able to make a nice pass over to Demidov late in the third, but he just couldn't quite get that past. And then that was pretty much all she wrote for the regulation, and then we headed on to overtime. The overtime frame started out pretty slow, but then Pittsburgh kind of, controlled most of the first like 3 or so minutes of it. They were able to get a 2-on-1, and Fowler was able to make a fantastic save. He, sort of kind of like the Montembeau one, except, a little bit more dangerous on a 2-on-1 in overtime. He was able to come across and make a nice save there, game-saving save. So that was exciting. And then right back on the other side, Demidov got a great pass from Dobson. He was able to keep the puck in and cut over to the left side and get a nice pass over to Demidov. He just couldn't quite get the puck high enough. If he had gotten that puck, kind of closer to the top corner, it would have been game over for sure. He just got it not quite high enough where the Pittsburgh goaltender was able to get his pad on that and save it away. But yeah, man, the Bell Center roof would have exploded. It doesn't matter if it's preseason or not. People would have gone crazy if we got a Dobson to Demidov game-winning goal on home ice. So that would have been exciting. But then later in the game, Jake Evans, like kind of at the end of the overtime, he had a 2-on-1 opportunity. He kind of cut into the middle, got the shot off, and a rebound came right to Matheson, who unfortunately railed it right off the post. So that was a could have been a goal to end it off there, but unfortunately we headed to the shootout. Overall, the overtime I thought was pretty good. I think Pittsburgh definitely kind of owned the possession for most of it, but that's just kind of the way that overtime goes. Is just you possess, and yeah, I think we made the most of our opportunities, but yeah, and then we headed to the shootout. I think much like the back half of the game overall, Fowler was just super impressive in the shootout. He was stoning, most of the guys who came their way. Sean Farrell got a nice little like a rainbow goal and went off the shoulder and then just up and back in. And unfortunately, that wasn't enough because Boys scored again, which, by the way, that's just a great name, the Boys. Anyway, and then Kapanen makes a great move. He kind of did sort of what Demidov was trying to do in his first attempt, but just able to avoid the poke check there. So he made a nice move there, and then Fowler sealed the deal. So that was a nice win overall. I thought my personal like 3 stars, I guess, for the Canadians. I thought Line played a great game. Dobson also was super solid. And then I thought Beck and Kapanen, I think those are the 2 guys who are really fighting for that last roster spot there. So I thought both of them really like showed that they were impressive. I also thought Jaden Struble, I didn't really talk about him much today, but I thought he was super impressive overall. But yeah, I thought a lot of our guys played pretty well. I mean, it's our first preseason game, first game of the 25-26 season. So, lots of work to do, but we got the win, and that's what matters. So thank you guys for watching this video. I will see you tomorrow with another game against the Flyers. And yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.